Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcasts with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello and welcome to Future Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Lamar, and I have with me on the line Roderick. He is the VP of Strategy and Marketing at Global BBVA Bank and Denizen. Welcome, Robert.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of Denizen as a company?
Sure. Denizen is, I'll start with the kind of a step back from Denizen. So BBVA, we are the 30th largest bank in the world. We're in mostly Spanish-speaking countries, largest bank in Mexico, fourth largest bank in Europe. And for us, the bank decided the world is moving into digital, and banks are traditionally brick and mortar. You know, you have to walk inside a building. And a lot of banks, unlike Amazons of the world, the Facebooks of the world, they weren't pushing as hard into digital. So 2 years ago, our CEO of the global bank, or 3 years ago, the CEO of the global bank said, we need to put a stake in the ground and say, let's move into digital and do it the right way. So we created an office in San Francisco, in downtown in the heart. We're actually right across from Facebook's new Instagram building. And they said they want us to build digital-only startups to help re-energize the bank and move into a digital world. And from that, 2 years ago came Denizen. A year was about research, and this last year we finally, the rubber met the road and we started building the product. And what Denizen is we're in a world that's getting smaller and smaller. More people work across borders than ever before. More people travel across borders than ever before. More people send money across borders than ever before. And so what we said was, well, let's take a look at that landscape. And people are paying 1% to 4% of whatever they send just to send money across a border in another currency. And when we looked at it, we have banks in multiple countries. Sending money to ourselves is actually free. Why are people paying these large percentage? So we said to ourselves, let's create a digital platform that creates a global bank account, but it has multiple banks around the world. So for instance, Denizen, we have a bank in the US, a bank in the EU. So if you work in the US, but you have family in the EU, you want to send money to the EU, it's 100% free. There's no cost there. Mm-hmm. And you do that through our platform because we have those banks. And so the high level of Denizen is we want to remove all the frictions and barriers of being an expat, being someone that's a global citizen, rid them of all those fees. And that's Denizen at the highest level.
Wow. So I guess let's dive into a little bit more of the features. So, it's definitely hassle-free and it's immediate. What about exchange rates and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what a lot of people don't know is there's usually three costs associated with sending money abroad. There's the actual paperwork fee that you have to pay. So in the United States, if I walked into any brick and mortar bank and I wanted to send money to the UK, I would pay a $25 or $35 or $55 fee for that wire transfer. I'd also pay a percentage of the transfer itself that you see a lot of online businesses charging you, so 1% to 4% of whatever I'm sending. And the third charge is the FX rate, and sometimes people put a spread on there. So if I'm exchanging currency, I don't know what it is off the top of my head today, but it's from US to the euro, 1 to say 1.3, usually someone would tack on a 0.05 to that or whatever that might be. Also, so there's three charges there. We are 100% transparent. There's no fee to send it. There's no percentage of the transfer. And the FX spread, it's literally the mid-market rate for the day. So we are giving you the rate that we get. We are giving that to you. And that's what that fee is. Wow.
And I'm reading here, about it's one borderless account. So it's like you said before, it's seamless transactions around the world, as it really should be. What if you have multiple accounts in different areas? Can you control multiple accounts on Denizen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we wanted to start with is we asked a couple questions about our expat customers and other customers. Well, everyone traditionally has some bank account. What we wanted to be is that bank account you use most frequently, not necessarily the bank account you've just had since college or you've had for the last 15 years. So the way Denizen works is we have right now a bank in the U.S., bank in the EU. When someone signs up, they have both the accounts, but we find out where they primarily live. So say I live in Europe, but I'm from the United States. Their primary address will be in the in Europe, and their currency will be set to euros. And so when I do all my transactions, I'll probably be mostly in Europe. So I withdraw from the ATM. So we keep the money they have mostly in that account. If I wanted to send it, say, money to my mother in California, I would actually initiate a transfer to her bank account in Denizen. And what happens is the money actually is sent from Denizen Euro to Denizen Dollar and then Denizen Dollar to my mother's bank account. And that happens seamlessly without a fee. And so the multi-currencies, we're actually adding a bunch of other currencies and countries very soon. And so how that'll work will still be the primary, but I can send money to anyone around the world or receive money from anyone around the world. It'll go into whatever account the money needs to go into, and then it'll funnel to my primary account. And again, we don't charge anybody any fees for the currency exchanges or changing those currencies. So to the user, there's no cost for having one global account. And to us and some of the feedback we were getting, that made a lot of sense to a lot of people. So for now, you can't store currencies in multiple currencies, but it's just one currency account, which is your primary, but you have the availability to receive or send money in multiple currencies.
Very, very easy and straightforward. What banking institutions are you planning to work with or currently working with?
So right now, BBVA, we work directly with BBVA. And the nice thing is BBVA has made some significant investments into Atom Bank in the UK, a recent $250 million or 50 million euro investment. And so we're exercising our options right now and working through what banks we would be working with. But currently right now it's BBVA Bank and in the different countries BBVA operates in. So in the United States, it's actually BBVA Compass that we've been working with.
Great. And so in order to use it, you would then transfer out of your current banking system into BBVA. That would be one of the first steps to starting to work with Denizen, correct?
Sorry, can you say the question in a different way? Maybe I'm not quite understanding.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So if I had, like, say, a Chase bank account and I wanted to use Denizen, would I just transfer all my stuff into the BBVA bank?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
yeah,
that's a great question. So what happens is with Denizen, we actually take all your information. You actually don't really interact with the underlying banks, like, say, BBVA Compass in the U.S. or BBVA, say, somewhere in Europe. What you sign up with is just Denizen. We have the relationships with those banks. So for you, it's just signing up, filling out one application with Denizen, and then say we're in 7 countries, and if you have the appropriate documents, you would actually have 7 accounts open instantaneously for you that are real bank accounts across the world. So it'd be like, say, a Chase or an HSBC or whatever it might be around the world. Instead of filling out individually, you're just automatically available across all of those currencies. And with your Chase account, you wouldn't be transferring anything. You could keep your Chase account, and you can actually link your bank account to us to make transfers into Denizen easier. So say maybe you use Chase for paying an auto loan, but you wanted to use Denizen to connect with family members or pay bills or rent or mortgage in Europe. You could still use us with both. We're never meant to completely 100% erase these other banks, but what we realize is these other banks want you to keep their money in them. With us, we want you to be able to send your money across borders and over time, hopefully move over to some of our other products and services.
That answers my question. Thank you so much. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Denizen and your background a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting enough. The CEO, Joaquin, and I are both entrepreneurs. We both have had multiple venture-backed startups. And 6 years ago, I had a startup that was looking for a payment system. And Joaquin, the CEO, had a payment startup that he was working on. And we just happened to cross paths through a friend. It ended up not working out just because the technologies were a little bit different that we're doing. And then 6 years later, he gave me a call and said, because I lived in the Bay Area and he at the time lived in LA, he moved up to the Bay Area and he said, hey, I'm working on this project and need someone to come help, be a co-founder, help lead. And I said, okay, let's talk. He pitched it to me and I immediately understood the problem. And I was like, I'm in. And then a week later, I was working for him. Prior to that, for 3 years, the founder of Intuit, which is the parent company of TurboTax, QuickBooks, and Mint, the founder had reached out to me 3 years ago and asked for me to come to TurboTax to lead innovation. So for 3 years, I led the innovation team there. We created 2 massive projects. One was called Benefit Assist. We actually rebuilt the benefits engine that you can get food stamps from in the U.S., and we gifted it to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services 2 years after we got into the project. But we delivered $1.5 billion in benefits. And then in my 3rd year there, I co-led the project Turbo with TurboTax, which is helping Americans get credit scores, be able to get a better credit score, get out of debt, better financing options. And that was with about 30 million customers. And then before that, co-founded an app called Breathometer. We were on a TV show called Shark Tank. We ended up raising close to $75 million. We had an exit out of there. What it was is a hardware software product. You plug the hardware into your cell phone, you blow into it, and it'll tell you, it would be a breathalyzer. It would analyze your breath compound. And we wanted to turn that into a healthcare company. So we had an exit out of there to a oral health company. And then my last project was I co-founded, which was called SafeTrek app. Right now, it's currently the #1 safety app in the United States on iOS and Android with over 4.5 stars. 2% of all 911 calls went through our system. What we use is GPS instead of cell phone. Or with cell phones, we use the GPS off the phone for satellites and not landlines. So it's 3 minutes faster connecting to police and having them find your location via cell phone using our app than calling 911. And so that's been very successful with about $8 million funding. It's still running. But between this project and that one and some of the other obligations, Denizen felt like a project you could really leap into and really make a global change. So that's been my background about the last, I'd say, 5 years or so. Yeah. Very
exciting. And I love the most recent one you were talking about, where the police can get to you in 3 minutes faster, because really, if it's a medical situation, 3 minutes could really mean the difference between life and death. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one of our, we the founders, myself and the CEO, we would actually go to our call centers and listen to some of the calls so we can understand how to build the software better. And I mean, we've stopped kidnappings, we've stopped home invasions. One home invasion one that was very scary was a deaf woman who couldn't speak. Her husband worked graveyard. Someone broke into her house with a gun to try to rob them. She hid in the closet. She couldn't talk or text the police, but with our app, she could text us. We were able to send the sheriff department and catch someone in her home, and potentially, hopefully, I'd like to think save her life in that situation. So there are countless stories. So that's, I think, a really, really good. You can go home at night and feel good about yourself with that startup, especially with the funding we were getting.
And I really love that all your projects have this underlying current of helping people and really making the world a better place. Because with Denizen, you're really trying to just make it easier for people who do travel around. It's a global citizenship nowadays. People are from certain countries, but we're really global citizens, and we are. So why isn't our banking?
Absolutely, and I think that's my background. My mother and father are from Mexico, and I'm first generation American. And when we've sent money to Mexico, when we see the fees, and you don't have a lot of money to send home, but you send it, and the banks are taking a percentage of that. We see that with a lot of people. A lot of our customers are, they don't send over $1,000 a month back home, but a couple $100 makes a difference to someone a year. And with Denizen, there are other products. We want to be with you long term. We don't want to make a buck off you now. That I think a lot of other banks and institutions are in it for just give me money now and give me money tomorrow, and they want to keep getting money from you. It's here, we'll give you an absolute free product. Like, you can sign up. We will not be charged in our free product. And if you want to expand to other offerings, there are where we do make charges at, which we're more than happy to. And even those fees are very reasonable. So in our mind, it's take care of the customer now, and they will stay with you a very long time. And when they are financially ready for your other products and willing to pay, they'll pay for them. So that's kind of the stake in the ground we've made with Denizen.
And where do you see? There's got to be some more features that you guys have in the works. Give us a little bit of a snapshot of the next 3 to 5 years for Denizen.
Yeah, I can't give away too many things because it's a very competitive space, but I'd love to give you, in the next year and a half, is definitely kind of, everyone knows what we're going to do there. So one is we're going to move into credit cards as a feature for us. So what it really means is what we realized was we interviewed a couple people, which is kind of outlandish. There's two stories where he's the new CEO of innovation for BMW. He had $1 billion startup prior. He moved from the Europe to Silicon Valley to start this new $1 billion BMW Innovation Center, and multi-millionaire. And when he tried to get a credit line, they only offered him a $1,000 credit card with a $1,000 credit line. And this guy's a multi-millionaire, and it's because he didn't live in the U.S. He didn't have a credit score. But there are other factors on, you can calculate, or you can see his bank accounts to see that, yeah, I think we can offer this guy more than a $1,000 credit card, especially when you move somewhere new and it's expensive to send money over. The other story we had is we had an engineer that he was from Italy. He just recently got a job at Facebook. He's making a great living of $250,000 a year as a senior data scientist at Facebook. And he only could get a $500 credit line on his credit card from Bank of America. And it took him 3 days to fill out all the paperwork and do everything with that. And in our mind, that didn't make sense. I mean, $500, like, how are you supposed to be able to, when you're moving your things, pay for rent, eat, go out before you're getting a paycheck, things like that. So for us, what we want to do is the next logical step for us, which we're working on, is a credit card that can enable expats or people new to the country to be able to get a credit card that's actually a fair credit limit at a great rate that isn't, such some high APR. And also then to service our other customers that may have credit cards, may have an established credit line, but we want to offer something where we can offer them a very great low rate APR that's not typical with a lot of other credit cards.
That's going to be huge, like you said, again, life changing for someone who's moving, and they're not allowed to have enough money to actually survive and make a move.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so credit card is one of them. Our other product that we're currently working on is a more of a premium piece. This is for someone that transfers, $5,000 to $30,000 a month. What we'll have is a premium tier where you only pay $3.99 a month, or if you're in Europe, €3.99 a month, and then send as many transfers as you want for free. And the other piece is having a dedicated 24-hour service, white glove customer support. So kind of think of it as the Centurion, American Express, or the Black Card. You can pick up the phone, you can call, someone can answer, and they can help you right away. And so our goal is that we'll also offer these additional services. Because sometimes, if you are right now, we do have a global customer service team. So you send us an email, or you message us online, or you give us a call on the phone. We have someone in multiple languages being able to answer your questions. But, like any bank, we do have our banking hours, banking holidays. So we might not be available just like any other bank, but we want to extend that and make sure that anytime, even on holidays, no matter where in the world you are or what language you speak, you'll have a white glove service from us. So those are the couple of things that we're working on that I think a lot of others are working on, but we're really excited about them.
That's fantastic. So Robert, tell us, how we can get signed up for this, where's the best place to find you, and to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are 100% mobile app digital. We stayed away from the online web on a laptop device or desktop device because we really do feel like an entrepreneur, a expat, someone that's a global traveler, they have their cell phone with you. It's your lifeline nowadays. And we want to make our bank so seamless that it's just all encompassed within your phone. You never have to go to your computer or do anything else. It's within your phone. So the first step is to download our app, which is on Android or iOS. It's available in any EU country and the United States right now to download. Other countries that we're not currently in, you might not be able to download it. You would download the app, open it. We would ask you for your basic information, name, phone, email, verify your phone number. Again, you can have any number in the EU or the United States. And then we go through a process where it's a little bit different. We ask you for your passport and not an ID. And the reason why we do this is I might have a driver's license. I'm making this up, but let's say a driver's license from Spain, but that Spanish driver's license might not let me wouldn't let me open an account in the United States. I'd need my passport, and vice versa. A driver's license from New Jersey, I probably couldn't open a German bank account. So what we did was, passport is universally accepted across all these countries. And so we asked the user to take a video with their passport so we can see it's their face next to their passport, take a video of them citing a couple numbers and letters to make sure it's them recording it in live, and then a picture of their passport, and then just some PII data, social security number, their address, their European tax ID, and then they submit it, and that's it. Typically, it should only take about 8 minutes tops to be able to get through the process. And if you have any issues, we'll actually message you back in the app, and then you can pop up, redo your video, because sometimes you might be somewhere noisy or there might not be enough lighting, something like that. But it's very, very seamless, and we're working to make it even better and faster, which will come out in the next 2 months. But again, we'll still be utilizing the passport at least for the next year. And then if you wanted to get an account that isn't technically global, by next year you could use just a driver's license in your own home country. But the best part about Denizen is using your passport and having a global account.
That's fantastic. Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining us here today and telling us all about your last 5 years and really giving us a deep dive into what Denizen is all about. Great.
Well, thank you very much for having us. We're really excited to talk about our story, and you can always visit our website at denizen.io or find us on Android or iOS. But thank you again for the time.
Fantastic. That was Roderick. He's the VP of Strategy and Marketing at Global BBVA Bank, and Denizen is the product they currently have. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today on Future Tech Podcast. We'll catch you guys later.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.